This video will introduce you to the Select Site menu and how to use this menu on the unit. To enter it, once again, you can merely highlight it, press enter, or press the corresponding number. The first time you load your unit, you will see a site called Delete. This is merely a test one that we use to verify that the unit works before it leaves the lab. You have four options. You can create a new site, edit a site, delete a site, or select a site. To delete a site from the unit, there cannot be a timestamp under last test. This field must be empty or say none. You cannot delete data from the Powermetrix. All deletion of data must be done from the PC. So we will create a new site. When creating a new site, there are a few fields that are required to do testing, and the rest are optional at this time. However, it is recommended at some point, either on the PC or while you are at the site, you do fill these out to increase your record keeping ability. The first option, as we discussed, is the site ID. This is how the site is built. Everything is built around this ID. So for this one, we will call it Demo. So we can delete it at a later date. Meter form, the next field, is what form of meter are you testing. This information is found on the nameplate of most meters. You can drop down the menu and you can scroll to select, but if you'll notice, every time you push the scroll key, the fields behind it update as they go through different service files. You cannot push the scroll key very fast or the unit will start to hang up and you will overshoot your target. To scroll down in greater lengths, use the page down or page up keys. Or, if it is less than 10, you can just push the number on the keypad and then hit enter. For this case, we'll be looking at a 9S meter. The next is the service type. This is the different ways that a 9S meter can be tested. Traditionally, the default is a 4-wire Y configured test. So we will select that. And the next is the service type. You have three options: 3V, 3C transformer rated, 2V, 2C, 2PC transformer rated, 2V, 3C Z-coil transformer rated. In this case, the default is typically going to be a 3V, 3C. Now we come to what is called the test setup. This is how the Powermetrix will proceed with the test. There are two default tests with the unit, default 1 and default 2. They are simply that, default test fields. It is recommended that you create your own test so you have exactly what you want in there. To do so, F4 is your test editor. This brings up the ability for you to create your test. So we will go with a new setup. Traditionally, when creating a test, you're not only going to have one 9S meter in your system, you'll have multiple. So what you want to do is you want to create your test with as much identification as possible. In this case, this will be a 9S 4-wire Y, and we are going to do a customer load, test, and we are going to do a CT test with burden and ratio, so we'll just signify that with B and R. So now next time you're going to test the 9S, when you pull up your test menu, you will see this option there, and you'll be able to just select it and not go through all this additional steps. Customer load is checked. This is how we do a customer load, is at the customer site using their voltage, their current, under their actual operating conditions. You have the options to do a watt-hour test, a VA-hour test, or a VAR-hour test. You also have the option to do a demand test. If you do choose the demand test, your options change a little bit. and instead of doing pulses or time, it does it during a demand period. Test time and test revolutions are mutually exclusive. Whichever one the unit gets to first is how long the test will last. For most installations, I do 120 seconds and 5 revolutions. If it is a heavily loaded site, 5 revolutions will go by quickly. If it is a lightly loaded site, you'll be there for 2 minutes and the test will end. If we were going to do a phantom load test, and if the unit had the capabilities of doing it, which would be an 02, a 32, an 05, or a 35, we would select this and go in and do a phantom load setup. CT test, burden and ratio. You can also do burden only or ratio only. Max burden. This is the maximum burden that the PowerMaster will apply to the circuit. You have options of 0.1, 0.3, 0.5, 1, 2, or 4. I tend to like to see as much data as possible, so I select 4 ohms. So for my test, I will have 6 test points. Once you're done creating your test, you save it, and then you select it. So now you have this test available. If in the future you come in to do a 9S and you open your drop-down menu, you'll see it right there, and you can just select it again. You don't have to go back in and recreate that test. The last required field is the K sub T. In most 9S's, it is 1.8. Some things to note about entering information into this field. Whatever you enter into this field will be the K sub T that the unit will test to. If it is incorrect, you'll have incorrect data. If you select a meter on the meter selection screen with a different K sub T, it does not matter, it will still test it as K sub T. Down below these fields, we have information such as the customer, the account number, addresses, substation, billing multiplier, phone, locator, primary voltage, and when the next test is due. All this information at some point should be entered in, but it is typically easier to either import this information in the Meter Site Manager or to fill it in on the PC by itself. The next page gives you the option to add your meters or your AMRs to your file. There are several meters already in the meter database. However, if the one you see is not there, you can press F4 for Meter Editor, and it shows you a lot more meters. If the meter you want is still not there, then option F3, New, allows you to add that meter. Some things to notice: when you are adding a meter to this, make sure you have the correct information in, because that will then be the staple by which that meter is tested against. If you do not have some of the above meters that are shown here, on your PC you'll have the option to go through and disable them, so all you will see will be the ones that you actually have in your territory. Same thing with the AMR, it works exactly the same way. You also have the options to add the serial number, the meter number, the communication ID, or the IP address if you wish. The next page is your CTs and your PTs. This allows you to go through and select your CTs or your PTs for record keeping purposes. However, if you select a CT on here that has the wrong ratio, the wrong accuracy, and you select that, it will no longer assume a 0.3% accurate meter and calculate the burden and say that is the ratio. It will at that point test to what you have selected. So if you select a 500 to 5 and it's a 100 to 5, it's going to fail the ratio test. If you select a 0.15% accurate meter and it's 0.3% accurate, it will fail the CT test. So when selecting and building these, make sure you have the correct information. Don't just select it based on one variable or the other. Make sure all the variables are correct. This page allows you to enter in instructions and warnings for the next person to test the site, and when they select this site, this is going to be one of the first screens that shows up. Your custom fields for site description that you created under User Preferences will show up here, and this allows you to enter in your data. And once again, once you're done, F6 will save and exit. And then you scroll down, and F6 selects the site. Once again, once this site's selected, the first screen that pops up would have any accompanying site instructions and information. If you have any comments, you can edit it in this screen, and it will be added to the file. You can also add the technician name here and here. Now, once that is done, if you'll notice, your selected site no longer says none, it says demo, and you have a few more options which we will go into in the next video.